Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update, and I am your host, Candi CWall Waller, checking in, as you know, I love to do all throughout the year, and especially during the NFL season to give you the latest and greatest information on the Washington Commanders. You all, welcome to this evening's live. This is a Bowie TV live recording. If you are watching on YouTube, hello. I hope you are subscribed. And if you're watching from Facebook, hello to you as well. All of you can share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. If you're on YouTube, you can send a super chat, a super thanks, all of that to show your support of the show. We certainly hope you enjoy the content. If you have not cut your cable and you live in the Prince George's County, Maryland area, you have Comcast, you can find us on channels 190 and 1097. So I'm trying to think through all the housekeeping items. Make sure you say hello to Mama Waller and Pops Waller as well. Drop your questions in the chat. Drop all your comments in the chat as much as you can. I will certainly try to get to as many as I can with a special, just being honest, preference to, of course, super chats and super thanks to show your support of the show. We certainly will make sure those comments get addressed accordingly and those questions get answered. You all, we have so much content. We are into the season, week 3, which you all know I've mentioned on this show as well as many others. This was the week that I'm like, okay, well, last year, this staff, this system, week 3 was the week where you saw things start to move together as the complementary football piece of it came into play. And we see that again this year, week 3. So let's get on into it. You know, I love to play this game. If you have been here before, you know we do this thing that's called What's Your One Word? So what's your one word to describe how you felt after the team was victorious? The game was over, finally, with the Washington Commanders win over the Las Vegas Raiders. As you're plopping in those one words into the chat, I'm going to probably start from last week. We're going to probably start from last week in some of the recap of what the coaches and staff said going into the Raiders game, as well as kind of recapping the first 2 weeks of the season, because we all know you learned so much from the first 2 weeks and headed into kind of the next game plan. While we're doing some of this, I would love to know what were some of your favorite moments of the game, favorite plays, favorite players from the game. There are so many moments that you can point to in the Washington Commanders versus Las Vegas Raiders game of some high points and some moments that you say, wow, you know, it's coming together. It's coming together. It's coming together. So while you all are making those comments, let's go ahead and get into the video clips. Trust me, you know that Bowie TV also covers the Baltimore Ravens, and I know it is Monday Night Football, and they are kicking off against the Detroit Lions. So we want to make sure the Ravens fans have their moment, their time watching the game. But, you know, I had to get together with the Commanders fans first. You all may have seen me after pregame yesterday as well as postgame, but, you know, still want to do the Bowie TV Washington Commanders update show as well. So much that we can get into. Why don't we start first, you all, with last week's coordinators press conference. So up first, and this one is a little long. So while you're watching Joe Witt Jr.'s opening statement from his press conference last week. I think this is important, and Cliff Kingsbury gets into his impressions of the first 2 weeks as well, because as you're listening to this now that the game is over, drop in the chat if you feel and see and saw that this Commanders team absolutely worked on the things that needed to be worked on. Now, was it perfect in every facet, every single solitary second of the game? No, it was not. But hey, they won. I will tell you, I think it could have been at least 51 points scored. We'll leave that alone, at least for right now. So let's get into Joe Witt Jr.'s opening statement from his press conference last week.
All right, good morning. All right, so have a lot to unpack real quick, and gonna try to do it quickly. We'll talk about the first two games, and then we'll get to this game versus Vegas. Okay, New York. I thought we came out and played the way that we should. The defensive line played really well, highlighting Kinlaw. He was violent all over the place. We knew that Russell had the ability, as you saw this last game, to shoot the ball vertically. And I thought secondary did a nice job of not allowing the balls to get over the top. And the D-line did a nice job of pressuring. All right, going to the Green Bay game. We knew that misdirection and eye discipline was a must. We did not do a good job in the eye discipline category, and that allowed some big plays. The tight end hit the big play up the seam. New York ran the exact same, a similar concept. They ran it slightly different. Covered the New York game. In this game we didn't. The eyes weren't as true. They had some insert boots that were ran pretty well, and but once again our eye discipline wasn't there. I thought the hitting and the running was still there that game, but when points were going to be at a premium, and the score is 17-10 in the fourth quarter, we got to make sure that we find the way to get that thing done. Now we'll transition into this game here. Veteran quarterback and Geno, strong arm, talented, can put the ball up, has eligibles on the outside that can really go and get in and stretch the field. A dynamic young tight end that, when you talk about being one of the best receiving threats, you have to almost treat him like a receiver. He's just a dynamic player. I remember watching him when he was at Georgia when he was a freshman, and I was like, if he came out, he'd probably be the first tight end to get drafted if he came out as a freshman. So I have a lot of respect for him. The running back, man, he's just good, man. Natural leverage. He has the ability to run through arm tackles. You have to get to his legs. You have to get multiple people there. The offensive line's blocking very well. 74 is a really, really good player. He doesn't give up much. So, we have our work cut out for us this game, but we just need to play our game. We play the way that we played the first game. And like I said, Green Bay, our eyes weren't true. The running hidden wasn't there, but we just had to clean up our eye discipline and not allow those explosive plays up the field. But one last thing, I just think that Kinlaw again played really well against Green Bay. I heard some people say they beat us in the trenches. They beat us because our eyes weren't good. The guys up front, they put the ball on the perimeter. They had receivers run the ball. It wasn't the running back run game that hurt us in that standpoint.
So when you listen now to what Joe Witt Jr. said last week, right? So this was a recap of the first 2 weeks of the season, now looking ahead to week 3, and then taking a moment to reflect. Here's the thing. Joe Witt Jr. mentioned eye discipline. Perhaps that could have been something else, because on the very first play, very soon as the Raiders offense comes out on the field, you see something happen. And there was a few moments of miscommunication, busted coverages that did happen. Now, listen, might this feel like there's still some expectation of perfection? Well, hey, potentially, yes. And that is because of the team and how they talk and mention about plays that didn't. Of course, a lot of went well, but there were still some moments where you saw some miscommunication there. So I then referred back to that clip of Joe Witt Jr.'s opening statement and said, hey, maybe this has some tie here. Now, exactly to his point, in the positive realm, playing their game. If your side of the line is better than the other side, beat them. And you saw the Washington Commanders defense do that in the trenches for certain. Now, did not hear Brock Bowers' name a lot at all. You definitely start to hear Ashton Genty's a bit more as the game went on, but it's certainly one of those things where it's like, hey, all of the names you could have heard, you probably heard Trey Tucker a bit as well, but some of the names you could have heard a lot of or more of, it certainly seems the Commanders defense had a response and answer there. And I don't, at least not right now, at this part of the show, have a comment about or a clip specifically on special teams. We'll get to that later on, much later on, because we have a jam-packed show of clips that we're going to be using our clues on. But as a special teamer, as you all know that I am, and I had to smile there for a moment, wasn't it a delightful day of special teams play, minus the missed field goal, minus that? Love button, fire emojis, everyone. If to start the game off, Deebo Samuel, perfect prime starting field position, as well as I hope you all showed the rookie some love in Jalen Lane in his career touchdown in punt return. That was truly fun to watch. I got to throw in some special team stuff there since I didn't have a clip right now for special teams. But at any rate, lots of positive things you can say from the defense. We could probably go on and on and on and about that. As Coach Witt was talking about Javon Kinlaw, you all know that this was a free agent signing from this year that I talked about a lot. Another free agent signing that I talked about a lot was Will Harris. Unfortunately, Will Harris does have to go on IR. This afternoon's press conference with Dan Quinn sounds hopeful. Maybe he will be able to come back this season, but he does have a broken fibula. This was very tough news again this week, 2 weeks in a row, where the team is losing a critical member of their unit to injury. So we'll just keep our eyes on that. Darnell Savage has now been signed to the team. So continuing to watch the injuries and watch what's going on. We all know at this time last year, the team was not dealing with this number of issues. I don't think they dealt with this number of issues all season long. But at any rate, let's wish Will Harris well. Hope you all did in a speedy recovery in the hopes that he absolutely can, in fact, come back this season. Lots of other names can mention. Does anybody want to talk about Bobby Wagner? I'm not necessarily going to get into too much detail about Bobby Wagner, other than he's having a tremendous season thus far. And we're going to talk about a little bit more regarding the defense. We'll talk a little bit more in a moment about the Preston Smith signing, as well as Frankie Louvu. If you all just tuned in, you are watching a live recording on Bowie Television, you all, from the Coaching from the Couch series. It is the Washington Commanders Update. I am your host, Candi CWall Waller. On TV in PG County, you can find Bowie TV on Comcast channels 190 and 1097. Hopefully, you are all subscribed to Bowie TV and able to capture and catch all of the latest and greatest information on the Washington Commanders. Next up, let's go into, again last week, from the coordinator's press conference, what Cliff Kingsbury had to say about the offense performance in the first 2 weeks.
Hey, Coach, when you look at the offense over the last 2 games, how would you assess them, what you like, what you want to see done better?
Yeah, I just say work in progress. I thought, the Giants game showed some promises, weren't very precise in some areas, and then as far as Green Bay went, first off, you got to give them a lot of credit. I think that defensive staff does a tremendous job there. They have a really good defense, a talented defense, and they got after us. Any opportunities we had, we didn't seem to make the most of, but it's week 2. Got to keep getting better, got to keep learning together. We haven't been together that much as a complete unit, getting on the same page, and so it was good to get back this week and actually practice and get out there and try to build. But yeah, I just think we're a work in progress right now.
A work in progress, not being able to all be together as a unit. That goes back to the term time on task. And someone dropped in the chat, time on task. That is a very real thing. That time spent together in training camp and in practice means a lot. But based on what Cliff said, again, you can see what he mentioned. The week of them all being together, right? Well, most of them, right? We know that John Bates and Noah Brown dealing with injuries as well as Jaden, but most of them all being there and together in preparation for Sunday's game. You saw what you all have been hearing me talk about for a while now, and that is this running back room, running back by committee, a shared job right there. It's not so much about the 1, the 2, the 3. It's about, hey, who can make it do what it do in front of this opponent? Who can get us going? Who can? And you saw a lot of all of that yet again from this running back room, really getting that run game going. You saw some good things all over, right? We're going to get into a little bit more with Zach Ertz, maybe a little bit more on the receiver side. You saw Luke McCaffrey with his first career touchdown. Oh, the excitement. That was kind of fun to watch that happen. And just, I did post a picture today. Terry McLaurin, he wasn't down. But anyway, let's move on. Because the Commanders did win the football game. So with that being said, John Bates, I do want to share 2 clips from last week because this was a recurring theme and topic I know for myself in terms of the blocking abilities. What is going to happen against the Raiders? John Bates is out. I mean, I'm just like, I'm throwing all kinds of names out there. Maybe you could do this. Maybe you could do that. If we get back into it, when I go back and I listen to the clips, the question I asked Dan Quinn last week about John Bates and his status and filling the void of his extraordinary blocking ability. And then when Cliff was asked as well about John Bates, now that I look back on the game, I'm like, you know what? Gotta say, that was pretty creative. Let's check out the clip when I asked DQ.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Along those same lines, John Bates is also experiencing injury. Any update on him, and if he does have to be out, how do you all have to fill that void from his blocking ability?
Yeah, we all know how John's so rare in that way on the blocking side, so it wouldn't be in exactly the same way. Like, just plug and play into that spot. I feel like we're pretty diverse in how we would have to go after it, but it would be something that would be difficult in that spot. We'll see where we look like by Friday. Like I said, as I'm going through with John, I'm in that same spot of where are we? We're going to make good decisions for the guys, and they're working hard. Having the extra time is helpful, meaning like a longer time in between the 2 games. But there's a couple that I'm still in the wait and see mode and position specific work. Then we'll get into tomorrow. Today we're going to be indoors. Many did things through the walkthrough, and then see where we are tomorrow. So I'm still on a wait and see with a couple guys.
And now let's move over to Cliff's comments when he was asked about John Bates.
And then if you're without John Bates for this week, an extended period, whatever, how do you fill the void there with his blocking ability?
Yeah, it's not easy. There's no doubt. That showed up the other night. He's a big part of what we do in the run game and has really helped us be successful there. And so we'll just have to be creative with the other bodies we have and mix things up. But to have a guy at the point of attack that we feel is pretty dominant like him and not be able to game plan with him makes it tough.
So they were certainly creative. And I want to go back to a comment earlier that I saw in the chat that we're able to put on the screen, which was about Jeremy McNichols. And I made a post yesterday. I said, for everybody who's wondering why Jeremy McNichols is still on the roster, well, I mean, hey, look, that's why. That right there, that was why. And so, Anthony Lynn is getting these guys prepared in that running back room. I cannot talk enough good things about them and be beaming at the same token because they caught my eye. I told many of you all while I was in training camp, sometimes I would play a game I mean, I was the only one playing it, but it doesn't matter. I was playing a game and it was like, made you look. Okay, so who made me look the most? The running back room. Here I am, Javon Kinlaw. What? There I am over there with the defensive line. And so then I would just focus on others as my assignments would come to me. But you love the moments when you see what you saw in training camp get even better and look even better in game on game day when it counts. And at the same token, and we'll get into a bit of that in a moment, that is also a challenge when you are seeing things that didn't look so hot, and here it is showing up on game day, not looking so hot again. So if you all have just tuned in, you are watching from the Coaching from the Couch series, the Washington Commanders Update. This is a live Bowie television recording. I am your host, Candi CWall Waller, who covers the Washington Commanders on site, part of the Daily Beat. So welcome. You still have time to share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends on TV, Comcast channels 190 and 1097. We got a long way to go. We kind of got a long way to go. So let's continue on with the pulling on the thread of the offense, shall we? I asked Cliff Kingsbury about the relationship that I have observed and just kind of really paid a lot of attention to, that is really blossoming between Josh Connolly Jr. and Laramie Tunsil.
Hey, Coach, when you look at going back to Josh Connolly Jr. and the relationship that Laramie Tunsil is building with him, what have you seen in just how they are grown together and just from overall their play on game day?
Yeah, that's been awesome to see LT really take him under his wing. They get out there early, work on pass sets, talk through things. I know he took him down there to Auburn to work out with him, and that's not anything we asked him to do. That's just the type of person he is. So you can tell anytime they're together, they're talking football, and he's sharing all the knowledge he has, which will only help Josh, battle through this, gauntlet of tough defenders he's gone against.
Listen, I've watched it, I've observed it when I'm on site, and you can definitely see that they are together a lot, Josh Connolly Jr. and Laramie Tunsil. So you can see that growth, and OMG, hasn't he had a task in the first 3 weeks? How about a welcome to the NFL, young man, season he's had so far? So it has definitely and certainly been a lot for him. So we'll see how this continues to play out as the season goes. I think as we all are hoping and anticipating, he'll be a lot better for it. Last week, I asked Marcus Mariota a question, and I actually followed up with him off the record about this question as well. I've noticed in my coverage of this team just last year and the group that they have, that losses, it's kind of personal. So I asked Marcus Mariota about that last week. Check out his answer. Definitely got some receipts on this one.
Hey, Marcus, I mean, you just mentioned a moment ago about the support that you have for, from your brothers and from your teammates here. I noticed that you all have a really hard time getting over a loss. So how do you focus, whether it's you're starting on Sunday or not? How do you just get that focus to potentially lead the team in week 3?
Well, for me personally, it's flushing it the next day. I try to give myself a 24-hour window of just like really reflecting on what that game was and how we can be better and where we can improve. And then from there, it's like just move on. It's always nice to come back on the practice field. Thursday night losses are tough because you have an extra couple of days to sit there and kind of just like listen to everybody talk about it and how how come you didn't do this and that. But at the same time, I think when you're able to take a moment and step back and look at it, you can find ways to improve. And when you get back on the practice field is when it just kind of allows you to do that. And that's when I feel like, for me personally, I love just getting back on the field and getting back on the grass and just finding ways to improve.
Now we're going to circle back to Marcus Mariota probably a couple times in this episode, but you all drop in the chat what you thought about Marcus Mariota and just him right? I remember last year when he was initially signed, it was just a lot of chatter. It was a lot of all the things, right? And again, he is one of the veteran players that I've consistently been tracking. And I saw the relationship, much like a Laramie Tunsil and a Josh Conley Jr. I saw the relationship he was building with everybody on the team. This is Marcus Mariota, as well as with Jaden, just the whole quarterback room. And it was pulling receipts now. I remember the Atlanta Falcons game last year, December, and the world saw it, and the world saw Marcus Mariota and Jaden Daniels have a moment, right? That I had been seeing since he got here, but now it's public, right? In terms of, telling him to catch his breath and just giving him that real-time advice. And I asked Coach Quinn about Marcus. I've consistently, when he was re-signed this offseason, I asked Coach Quinn about him again. And we'll get into a little bit more of that. Spoiler alert, if you watched today's press conference, you already heard my question. But we're going to get into a bit more of that. But this team has a hard time dealing with the loss. It's probably a great thing because it means hopefully they don't want to do it often. But you really saw, I just think about how they were after Green Bay, and being in there, it was like you could hear a pin drop, literally. I've shared on other shows that all I could hear was my heels clacking, like walking, like all I could hear were my heels. And I was like, wow, it's quiet. I had to get out of here. So it was quite interesting to see how they regroup, because that is what it's about. You don't have a lot of time to get it together, and to see how they regroup is big. It's big. And you see that week to week, they take this personally. So going back to a comment I made earlier in the show about names you didn't hear from the Raiders. I mentioned you didn't hear Brock Bowers. You also didn't hear much about this player here.
Hi, Coach. How do you prepare for a guy like Max Crosby after playing against Micah Parsons last week? Does that help prepare your offensive line for come against a top-tier edge rusher?
Yeah, not so easy, guys. He is an absolute savage of a player. I love watching him, the energy, the effort, the skill of it. Somebody that, I just respect a lot. And so his game, the way he plays, the style. So overall, we'll have to all play better, than we did in our last performance. And that's what we certainly plan on doing. But, he has garnered that kind of attention for sure.
And seeing him in real life, yes, I agree wholeheartedly with Coach. But you didn't hear his name a lot. So that is another testament to, we know that there's been some movement on the offensive line and all of that. So it was interesting to see how this team responded when they have these tough players that they're going up against. Like I share with everybody, hey, they're getting paid too. And they are arriving and they're ready for the moment. So good stuff again by the offensive line, and shout out to offensive line coach Bobby Johnson. Shout him out, who consistently has his unit ready to go. So I've mentioned Anthony Lynn, I've mentioned Bobby Johnson. It's others too, right? It's others too. I mean, Coach Tapp on the defensive line, he had to deal with Dietrich and then the Devontae Jean-Baptiste coming up. So it's some good things. Here's another name from the Raiders that I thought maybe we would hear a little bit more of. So let's go to this clip of me talking to Zach Ertz about one of his former teammates.
Friendly face in Jeremy Chin on Sunday. I know you all battled a lot last season and making each other better, but this time he's on the other side of the scrimmage line. What are your thoughts on that potential probably matchup, or how that's going?
Phenomenal player. Obviously got a ton of respect for Jeremy. Loved our battles last year. He definitely got me better as a player. So it's going to be a tough matchup for me in particular. And he's a really good player. I've played against him in the past when he's on different teams, but I feel like he's definitely one of the best safeties in the league, especially at his role. So it's going to be a battle for sure.
You did not hear Jeremy Chin's name. So 3 names that I was like, I mean, in Ashton, well, really it's 4, right? It was Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, Max Crosby, Jeremy Chin. Out of those names, you really only heard Ashton Genty. And that was toward the end of the game, in my opinion. It was a little bit later in the game. But we ended up hearing Trey Tucker, who I had not, really engaged with or any of his play per se. Some of the things that I was anticipating, saying, okay, what's going to be the plan for this? What's going to be the plan for that? What's going to be the plan for this? And on the pregame show yesterday, I definitely said the security blanket in Zach Ertz, while he had some plays, he definitely had some features in the game yesterday. I said, security blanket, not sure how secure it's going to be. So they're going to have to do some different things, because if it's one thing and one player Jeremy Chin knows very, very well, it is Zach Ertz. You can plan accordingly, right? And he knows his offense very, very well, can plan accordingly. And they were ready. They were absolutely ready. Now, let's switch a little bit, because there's still some things we want to talk about. Last week, the Washington Commanders, in lieu of Dietrich, of course, with Dietrich Wise being out, they signed Preston Smith. Here's a bit on that signing.
What does Preston Smith bring to the group? And I guess without giving away state secrets, how do you plan to use him, and how much can he do in this week?
We're still seeing, Preston's very new to the group, and Jason Simmons has history with him. They were together in Green Bay, but he's a veteran player, so we just have to make sure that he's in shape, ready to go, learning the system. He's with Tapp, he's with Kerrigan, so I have high anticipation that he will learn the system very quickly, and then when we get him involved, as whenever he's ready. Yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in. We're doing our best to acknowledge all of the comments. You guys, if you are just tuning in, this is a live Bowie television recording from the Coaching from the Couch series. This is your Washington Commanders update. I'm your host, Candi CWall Waller. I'm on site with the Washington Commanders. You may hear my voice on press conferences. I'm so glad you all are here to join the live recording. If you have TV, if you have not cut your cable and you are a Comcast subscriber, you can find us on channels 190 and 1097. All right. You should figure I should say it enough now. I probably shouldn't forget, but at any rate, still got plenty of time. Go ahead and get your Washington Commanders loving family and friends all locked in on the live. If you all would love to support, donate, we do accept super chat, super thanks, all that good stuff. And I will try to answer as many questions as you possibly can. Glad to know you all are enjoying the show. Love button, fire emoji if you're still rolling with me, because I am not done yet. Still got a lot of show to get into, because I had another question last week of Coach Witt that I think is important to highlight. We definitely have to get into some after game press conferences, as well as Dan Quinn's press conference today. So check out my question to Coach Joe Witt Jr. on Frankie Louvu.
Hey, Coach, what have you seen so far out of Frankie Louvu?
Frankie, we had some conversations this week. The first two games, people are treating him more like a big, so he's getting more protections turned to him, getting more blocks by the tackles and the linemen, other than the back, where last year he got more of the back. And that's what he has to, when you produce and you show what you did, to have the type of season that he had last year, you're going to be treated as such. And so we have some things that we're going to do schematically to do it, but understanding that they're still, when he gets up there, they're going to treat him as a big, and they're going to put the back on somebody else.
That's some good information. Okay, that is some good information. If you all don't know and you're new to the stream and new to Bowie TV, I hope you all are subscribed. I do something called Use Your Clues. Okay, and you should be using your clues all throughout. All right, because I have my trusty notebook with me. I hope you have one with you all. And if you don't, that's fine. Just still use your clues. Okay, that was a telling response. Frankie Louvu still bringing all of the juice and the energy, but we're seeing a kind of ramp up, right, this year, particularly because exactly what Coach Joe Witt Jr. is saying, they got a plan for him now. See, sometimes it's a little bit better when you got people they don't know. They don't have to necessarily plan for. they're showing that, and perhaps that's that anticipation there, going back to a Bobby Wagner in the season that he's having right now. So I like that, and I hope you all found that explanation helpful. But we got to see how this progresses. I think this is still a thing, right? Because it's still, gotta make space for Frankie Luvu to do his thing. You did hear his name a couple of times in the win over Las Vegas, but it's certainly a ramp up, and that's fine. It's fine, but still, I wanted to ask, and it was enlightening to hear Coach Witt say, "Hey, we just talked about that this week, right? And how teams are treating him." Okay, now they're aware of how he's being treated. Let's see what adjustments are made, if any, right? Because I because of that, now I'm watching more focused and watching what's happening, especially, with Frankie. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, they're treating him like he's a scary person. I get it. Hey, listen, last year I made a comment and I meant it. And it was, I don't know about anybody else, but I would not want Frankie Luvu and Bobby Wagner running at me at the same time. No way. Okay. And then all these other people, it's too much. So they have to plan accordingly. They certainly have to plan accordingly. Love button, fire emoji, not a particular clip for him in this episode. I don't think we do anyway, but love button, fire emoji for Von Miller. Can we give it up for Von Miller? Stop talking like people call him old. Stop calling him old. Now, he took out half of the Raiders' offensive line, and then they showed him on the sidelines getting oxygen. I felt the oxygen part, because I said that may have been me as well. But at the same token, give it up for Von Miller. Tremendous job. In addition to the team there. Let's get into after the game press conference. Most of these are clips of Marcus Mariota and some of the things that I wanted to highlight that he said after the game. Marcus, very emotional, just very, just all the things. Let's get into them.
And their defense had stopped the run pretty well the first couple games. What do you think you're doing so well to have success like that?
Again, I think it just came down to mano a mano. I thought our guys did a great job up front of kind of executing their blocks. You could feel it even as the first couple of drives are going. They were leaning on them, and it's just a credit to those guys up front.
I do see a question. Speaking of, a credit to the offensive line, I do see a question about Brandon Coleman. I do think we have a clip there from the press conference today. So we'll get into that in a moment. Just hold on to that thought, because that is a very important point. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the episode about the offensive line. So we're gonna get into that, because there's certainly been some interesting shifts there. Let's get into the next clip.
What did you see on McNichols' touchdown run?
I really thought he got tackled like 4 times through the course of that, and then he popped out. And he's a dear friend of mine, because we've been in a couple places together. And to see him have success, he's always been such a good player for us. And he does so much in the pass game, probably more than people even realize in terms of blocking. And for him to get an opportunity to make a few plays like he did today was really cool.
So back to Jeremy McNichols, because we got to give flowers. We give flowers here. We also do love button and fire emojis. We do love button. That's if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, we do fire emojis. Okay. If you're on both, you can do both. You get the love button and fire emoji. Jeremy McNichols, and some may not have known that information that Marcus Mariota and Jeremy McNichols have played together before. Right. So that's all the connections. There's a lot of connections with this team and, the coaching staff as well as players. And so that play, it had to be, we know it was at least 3 people, but I think he definitely broke 2 other tackles. He broke away from 2 other people. Now I want to go back to a moment where I'm not sure if we have the clip. We have so many clips, you all, but using your clues, because one of the things that Coach Quinn was talking about in training camp for the running back room was breaking tackles. Saw a lot of that. Okay. So I know you're not going to make all of them. You're not going to break all of them, you all. But Jeremy McNichols has that ability. You know, this was like 5 different people. And at one point, it was 3 people that was trying to bring him down at the same time. And they were unsuccessful in their feat. So give it up. Love button fire emoji for Jeremy McNichols. I think that's very important. Let's go on to the next clip.
Returns on special teams. How does that help kind of energize your offense, especially early, a 69-yard return on the opening kickoff? How does that help you get started?
It creates momentum. And when you're able to kind of ride that momentum, especially into that first touchdown drive, it's huge. It's a great way to start the game. And then, I mean, our young receiver made an unbelievable play on that punt return, and really at a point in the game where it could have flipped either way, right? And he created just that momentum for us, and I think that's how we were able just to kind of get things rolling again and score a bunch of points. So when you're able to play a complete game like that in all 3 phases, it makes this team hard to stop.
I knew there was a special teams clip somewhere because I'm a special teamer. Somebody who really puts a lot of emphasis on how important that part of the game is. And you saw it. You saw it. Now, in the Green Bay game, going back to week 2, there were opportunities there with great starting field position, but the offense couldn't maximize on it. So in week 3, you saw not only did the offense maximize on it in most occasions, you saw Jalen Lane actually succeed and just score, touchdown. Because, hey, listen, that's the ultimate goal. Because the best starting field position is in the red zone for a touchdown. Let's just keep that real. May I be very transparent with you all for a moment? Love button fire emoji if you are all right with me being very transparent with you for a moment. And hey, listen, I don't really, I get, you know, it's objective. It's objective. And I have to do that because I want to do a great, you know, objective and fair. And I have to do that because I want to be that for you all and for what I do in my job. But listen, when Jalen scored the touchdown and then we're all like waiting because there was some penalty and all that. And, you know, the officials announced in the stadium that, you know, the touchdown, you know, it stands, but he was explaining whatever it was that they were explaining because I don't, you know, I watched the entire Washington Commanders sideline. It was like every player, coach, staff member completely erupted at that moment. They were so happy for Jalen. And I literally say, I did like this. This is why you got to watch the show and be a part of the Bowie TV family. I was like, wait a minute. Wait, hold on. I think Jalen is about to make me mess up my makeup. Wait, hold on. I know I had on waterproof mascara. I have on waterproof mascara, everybody. But whoa, I'm a little emotional. Oh my goodness. Because I knew it, I saw it, and I'm using my clues. Right? I used the clue of just doing my research on them and remembering how ecstatic special coordinator Larry Izzo was about drafting him. I mean, he was thrilled. And I'm a special teamer. So I'm like, okay, Debo, and I know there's some folks that, you know, hold their breath like Debo is too valuable to return kicks. Listen, that is a very important role. And Debo has done an outstanding job at it. Okay. So let him do it. There were so many people that were like, you really think Debo is going to return kicks? Absolutely. They're not doing anything in practice and during training camp just to shoot the breeze. That's what he's doing. That's a job. That's one of his roles. That's one of his tasks. That's what he's spending his time on task doing that. And so with that moment, I just, started watering a little bit. I didn't cry. It wasn't nothing like that, you all, but I think I almost did. I think I literally almost did. So, but I didn't. At any rate, shall we move on? Let's move on. Now we're going to get into some of the clips, you all, from Dan Quinn's presser today. Are you still with me in this live Bowie television recording? Hopefully you are. This is from the Coaching from the Couch series, your Washington Commanders update. I'm your host, Candi CWall Waller. I cover the Washington Commanders on site. You can find Bowie TV on Comcast channels 190 and 1097 if you're in the Prince George's County, Maryland area. So I'm going to keep on keeping on with the clips here and hopefully you all are subscribed to the YouTube channel. And we also air and share all of that as well on the television channel, so you can see hopefully exclusive look into games and join the press conferences, all of that content that we share with you all throughout the week, from practices and games and all of that stuff. So let's get into some of Coach Quinn's press conferences. Let's see what he says here.
And how did you feel Chris Paul and Andrew Wiley did at guard?
Yeah, I knew that would come up to go. I was pleased with Chris inside the strength of him, Nikki, and that we knew that going into camp and where it was. And all four of the guards, like, we're just, still kind of in the early days with Chris and Andrew and Nick and Brandon to go. And so it may take a little bit of time to sort itself out to go. But to see Chris, he deserved that chance to go battle for it. I thought he had an excellent camp. And, he was ready to go fight. And like I say, throw his hat in the ring, like that cliche, but like he was really ready to go prove himself and execute and do that at a high level. I'd been impressed, with the Raiders, especially at linebacker. I thought they had square, they were strong, they could play, and they had established they'd played the well run in the first two games. So we knew that would be a challenge, but I thought he answered the bell.
Someone asked earlier about Brandon Coleman, and listen, inactive, even for myself. I said, whoa, okay, didn't expect that. Coach's decision, not injury related. Okay, all right, because we do know that he went out of the game for a moment in Green Bay. We do know that. Okay, shoulder situation. All right. We'll see what happens, you all. We'll see what happens. I did definitely said inactive was a stretch a bit. But let's keep our eyes on this one and use our clues. Now, yes, the offensive line, I think, did good. Now, there's some areas, you all, where the pre-snap penalties are still like, because you just don't want to give away yards or set yourself back. You don't want to give away yards from the defensive perspective. You don't want to set yourself back from an offensive perspective. One thing that Marcus Mariota said in his press conference, after game press conference, to the point of the team being so resilient, he made the comment, he said, we don't blink. And I love it. I think that's fantastic. I think it's phenomenal, right? You just, make the mistake happens. Sometimes they keep rolling. And we've seen this team do that, and it's part of their identity. That's great. But to be able, that's part of mistake-free football. I mean, it's not going to be perfect all the time. But, sometimes there are repeat offenders and stuff going on. You might want to pay attention to that. So we'll see, because the offensive line played well. Like I said, you didn't hear Max Crosby's name really until the end. And, so they did the job. Was the job done? Yes, the job was done. But this is something that we still need to watch in terms of what happens on the offensive line, especially when Sam Cosmi comes back, because that should be on the near horizon, right? That should be on the near horizon here. So let's stick a pin in that one, but let's keep using our clues on that one as well. They did well, but something to certainly watch. Let's get into the next clip.
Dan, how did Connerly hold up? I know they were moving Crosby around a lot, but how did he hold up generally?
Yeah, I thought it was a good day. Of the three games, I thought it was his best one. I thought this one and the Giants one were his two best DA to go through it. you see the movements also. The guy can pull, he can get on, like sometimes you can just say just in one phase, but he's had a hell of a matchups, for his first 3 games to go into it. And sometimes you go and you learn through the fights and where do you grow. And I would say, like, it's cool to see the game that didn't go well a week ago and then grow from it, get the lessons. How do I get better against a fantastic player? Did it all go great? No, but there was a lot to like. And I think that's what you're looking for, as a coach. Are we learning? Are you growing? Or are you stuck in the blender? And so for him, the growth at times is tough and it sucks when you go through it, but there's also when you come through the other way, and you gain some confidence too, David, to say, okay, this is, is some of the highest levels that you go to, and you grow and you keep digging in.
We'll see what happens with Josh Conley Jr. because, like I said earlier in the episode, my goodness, good grief, what a welcome to the NFL he has had. Wow. But he's holding up. He's holding up. And I think he's getting stronger every single day because of it. I want to acknowledge this question here. I do want to acknowledge this question that came through about Jeff Driscoll. I saw Jeff Driscoll on Sunday. He is on the practice squad for the Raiders. Don't know, do not know at all why they didn't bring him back, because the Raiders signed him to their practice squad he was still available up until right when the season was starting. So that was a question that we've asked or just asking around. Let me be clear on that. And I guess the same can be said for an Austin Seibert or Zane Gonzalez, right? Really not brought in to at least compete for the kicker role. So something to stick your pin in, because I thought that was an interesting point as well. And is on the list of unsolved mysteries, as well as with, why no kicker competition, Zane Gonzalez, Austin Seibert, what's going on here. So hope that answers your question. I know there's not an answer, but it's an answer. We don't know what happened either. I don't. We've been trying to figure that out. And I know where he is, though. So if he was any help, or I'm sure he was on their scout team, didn't help that much. Anyway, that was a shady comment, but he didn't help that much. Shady comment again. Shouldn't have repeated it. Anywho, hope that helps. Let's move on to the next clip.
Thanks, Dan. Kind of a follow-up question on that same point. A lot of people talk about coherence and having the same 5 guys in the offensive line. I'm curious why you felt comfortable. Beyond liking Chris and Andrew, why did you feel comfortable shuffling that, and what led to that decision? Yeah,
I don't know if it'd be comfortable or that way to go. I honestly, having the same group together and calls and working together, I think sometimes you just got to make sure the competition's the central part of it, Tom, to make sure that's how we're going to get down and do things. And if you don't live that, then I think it's just, a sign on the wall that you don't. And so we wanted to make sure, hey, if this takes some time to work itself out, we're committed to doing that. All of the guys, not just all line, but all the players, there's some things we work on. We have a program called EPP, and it's our pre-practice, post-practice, the skill work, and we take that really seriously. And at that position, to keep working the skills, to get better and better as we're going, that's a big deal. But I think it does show to the depth at the position that we're willing to dig in and keep battling for it. Sam Cosby's not far away in his space of where he's going. He's digging hard too. So once we get that going, we'll just see where it all plays out. But we're committed to continuing to just find the edge, man. Okay.
So I think that right there, that clip, okay, I think that question and the answer from Coach Quinn is a use your clues moment, because now it gets a bit consistent. I'm still going to say inactive was whoa. All right. But I do know that the program, the system, the nucleus, of course, brotherhood and competition, right? And, the program that he shared that knowledge as well with EBP, you should be getting better. Things should be progressing. you don't really want to see just like a plateau, so to speak, for an extended period of time, right? And competitive edge, competitive advantage, a real thing. Let's keep our eyes on it. Because if it's not injury related, then this is a healthy scratch. So let's keep our eyes on it. Very important points being made and important questions being asked, other than just what happened. But I mean, they asked that question as well yesterday after the game, and as you heard, it's come up again. And Coach Quinn giving a little bit more detail and talking about that competition. So I'm like, did you just get beat out of the role for this week? Like, what did you really think about it? And there's a lot of this is beating the other person across the scrimmage line. So did you just lose the battle? And when it came down to who was going to go up, you just weren't in the number. And I can deal with that. I could get it. But inactive, that was okay. All right. That was saying something. We just don't know what it's saying exactly just yet. Let's move on to the next clip. Just a few more clips, and I know everybody's probably going to get ready to go. But hopefully, Commanders fans, you are enjoying the live episode.
I know I asked you last week about takeaways. You had a couple of good chances yesterday to try to get some, still not there.
Yep.
How do you tell the guys to kind of remain positive in the sense, they're coming, guys, they're coming?
Yeah, you want to make sure you're training the guys correctly. And at practice, are we taking the right shots? Are we taking the right angles? Thought we had a chance for an interception. We didn't get to it. But you do have to go in with the mindset to say, we're going to go play our technique first, play it aggressive, and then be willing to go get the ball. I do feel like they're going to come. We just got to keep training the guys, keep digging in for it. It's definitely a drought, so it's time to get out of the drought. But they don't just give them to you either. You got to go fight for them and dig, and give the Raiders credit in that space too.
Listen, there is a drought in the takeaway column. Now, this was a big thing for me last year. Such a big thing, because I would go into, starting field position, tackling margin, all the things, right? That takeaway, they still, to my knowledge, the goal hasn't changed. It was three. And the only time they had 3 was in the divisional round against Detroit. Okay. We've seen some pass breakups. Shout out to Trey Amos, right? He's had 2 in the last 2 weeks, right? You saw Will Harris have 1. Critical moment pass breakup too, right? Against the Green Bay for Trey, against the Raiders for Will. But I appreciated Coach saying you just got to keep training the guys, coaching the guys, because it is a thing, right? It's one thing to be disruptive, but it's like, get the football and hopefully run it back and score. That'd be great. But just get the football. Just get it. Take it out of somebody's hand if you need, So it's a for sure work in progress. But we're seeing so many teams and so many players just go up to the offense and just punch the ball out. Just get it. It's happening. And this is why they have the goal, right? Because it's not an outlandish goal. And I appreciate their goals, because it's how it keeps you honest on where you are based on where you want to be. And that's an area they certainly have to get better at, for sure, because this goes back to the difference in a 41, scoring 41 points in the win column and scoring 51, right? Or even more than that, if you get some takeaways. So you don't know. Hey, everybody wants to be the best that they can be. So I appreciate the goals, but keep your eyes peeled there as well on these takeaways. Write them down in your notes if you need to. The goal is 3, everyone. 3 takeaways. And when they didn't get it, they didn't get it. Let's move on to the next clip.
Hey, Dan, you guys have been doing a strong job both in terms of kick return and punt return and the coverage teams in both of those areas as well. What do you think has clicked for you guys in those specific areas?
Yeah, we really value it, Tashawn. We have. I guess it started as we think of it as a very big part of our play style and identity. The way we cover, the way we hit, the way we run, and we've got some experienced players there. Primarily like Reeves and Ballore, and now you see them develop the others of the McGee's and Owens that go through it. So. Adding Jalen in the offseason through the draft, that was a big deal. And, you saw the demonstrated punt return ability from Tech and in fact, back from Middle Tennessee as well. But he's also grown on the receiving side. So that was a big deal. On the kick return side, we thought this would be something Debo would be really strong at. And Luke as well. They're aggressive runners to go hit it. But it's the front line. It's getting single blocks. Those are the ones that are challenged. We work those techniques hard against one another, and we're still growing into it as well. And we think as the season's going, what's changing? How do you see things different? You're seeing more footballs hit the ground, to try so you can take off when the ball hits the ground. So those are all part of things that we're growing and learning on. I think the kickers are also doing a good job of that. There's so much more to grow and learn in the kick return side of things. So we're just going to keep digging in as hard as we can.
And you know that if there's anybody who's going to be watching how things continue to evolve, hopefully for the better on the special teams front for the Washington Commanders, it will be me here at Bowie TV. Okay? Because that is something I like flowers too. Love button fire emoji. I'm big on special teams because look how many games were decided and it just got interesting because of special teams play in week 3. All right. So last clip. Hopefully you're still hanging with me. Last clip. This is my question today to Commanders head coach Dan Quinn. Everybody knows he got knocked down, like literally a debacle on the sideline with Marcus running into him. There was a lot going on. It was a huge topic. Everybody, for what it's worth, we were all concerned in the press box as well. But I asked Coach about that moment, and I got into a little bit more detail there because I try to, there's definitely some ways where I could be a bit more critical of some of the aspects of the game. Hey, 41-24. Don't want to kind of stay in that critical space. So bring some things up, tell you to watch out for some things. But I have been tracking a theme. If you all have been watching the show, I've been tracking a theme of displays of brotherhood. So kind of asked Coach about that, asked about himself as well as Marcus Mariota. Check it out. Hey there, Coach. Happy Monday. And to kind of piggyback off of JP's question to close us out, going back to the kind of recurring theme of displays of brotherhood, we saw that with you being resilient AF yesterday, and Marcus was pretty emotional after the game and shared about how much support he got from everybody. So how do you I'm asking you, how you have started a trend and you are the leader of that culture who then came and corralled around you when you needed it in games. So how do you just keep that culture going so strong and effective as you have so far?
Yeah, well, one, Candi, I appreciate you saying that. It's really cool. Marcus, we love him, about what he stands for, who he is. I think last night Stacey had showed me the clip of me, getting knocked on my ass and people over there to help. Even Marcus was there, making sure I was okay. Together, part of my number one job is to help create an environment where these guys can absolutely be their best. And one of the ways that you can be your best is if you have a big crew with you. That's going to help you get there and push you. And we heard a great quote on Saturday about relationships and truth, and it was, I may not get it all the way correct, but have relationships so strong, they can bear the weight of the truth. And these guys are really tight. They're really connected, Candi, because they're willing to lean in and do the hard things together. And so inside the locker room, that's where the people that they're playing for one another, for player to player. And outside, sometimes that can be hard to understand when you're not in the fight with it. But when it's them going for it together, their connection, they want to do it together, those are things, if I can help create that environment, that they have a space that they feel good. I think Marcus is a great example. I knew he would feel unbelievable support because that's what he gives to everybody else. So it was like, man, what a cool time that we get to give that back to him and pay that back to him. So I wasn't surprised by that, but it is cool to see these guys really grow together. They definitely love one another, and you can see how hard they were playing yesterday. That's an extension of each other. So, I'm definitely honored to be a part of it, and whatever small part that is, it's really cool.
Thank you. So this wraps up the show. Whenever I can wrap the show with something that is a positive closeout, something that just still connects to everything that I've been seeing and witnessing from this, I guess we can still call them new staff, right? This is the second year together. As compared to my previous years in covering the Washington Commanders on site, I'm going to share that with you all because I think that, you all have dealt with enough negativity that when you can be able to really understand, like I see it, I feel it. Like when I shared with you all the clip earlier from last week, when I shared with Marcus, you all have a hard time getting over a loss. And he had to laugh because it's true. I mean, but that's a good thing. It's a great thing. They don't like losing at all. And as to Coach Quinn's point in his response to me, they absolutely were playing for one another. They were in it. They were in it. And I could see it. They don't want to lose. And they were very disappointed after Green Bay. Very, very disappointed. There's no such thing as a good loss for them. So I hope that helps. And to see again, everybody just crowd around Coach Quinn in that moment and just all the things. I had to ask him about it. I had a list of other things that I need to ask him. But we'll get to that. Or there was only one more I could do and we had to wrap up. So that is the one that I chose for today. So I hope you all have enjoyed this live Bowie television recording. I've truly enjoyed, as I always do, sharing all of the insights and information that I am gathering throughout the weekend on game day. I love sharing that with you all, putting it all together in a storytelling fashion, and for us to be using our clues together. I think it's all very cool, especially we could do it live. Live TV is kind of my jam. It's all right, but sometimes technology doesn't agree. So far tonight, it did. You all tell your family and friends about Bowie TV. Listen, it's not just sports, but we have sports on site with the Baltimore Ravens as well. We do a lot of HBCU coverage, women's sports, you name it. But we also have a lot of community content as well. So I hope you guys are subscribed, able to watch on TV and all of that good stuff. You can follow me if you don't already on X as well at CWall SE. You can find Bowie TV across all platforms. You can find me on Instagram at CEO CWall, whatever your pleasure is and whatever your preferred platform of choice. Trust me, you can find Bowie TV on it. You all, I've had a blast talking to you all about this week, and it's always more fun when we're covering a win. Hopefully, if you all are traveling to Atlanta, I know that's always a big game for Commanders fans to travel to. Safe travels. I will be there myself. I think, don't tell nobody I told you all this, but I think Mama Waller might be there too. But anyway, you all do have a great rest of your week. I'm sure I'll be doing something in advance of the Atlanta Falcons game. I always do a pregame that you can catch here or on All Burgundy and Go Everything. So you all, as always, I'll be talking to you all again soon.